Well, it's wonderful to have you all with us this evening. My name is Caitlin Johnson. I am the Director of Alumni Engagement here at Michigan Ross, and very excited to be offering this opportunity to you all today. If you haven't joined us before, RossTalks is an event that we usually take on the road. We bring Dean DeRue and hold alumni fireside chats or panels. And so during this time, we thought we'd bring it to you virtually. So RossTalks has gone remote, and it is powered, if you will, by the Alumni Advantage Program, which are all the benefits that our Michigan Ross alums receive as they graduate, which we just welcomed about 1,500 new alumni to the alumni community, and you all did share the love on our LinkedIn group, so thank you so much, and we look forward to welcoming each and every one of them to their new cities once they're able to travel and get there. A few things I want to touch on before we start. All our attendees are muted and your videos are hidden. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A feature and then continue to use the chat feature just to give little shout outs and feedback as there as well. I'll hold all of the Q&A questions until the end. So today I have Dean Scott Drew joining us, Angela Kujava, the Managing Director of the Desai Accelerator, and we will have our MBA alumna Brenda Pak joining us to share about a app, BackPac, that her and two other now alums, but students at the time, launched while they were at Michigan Ross. So without further ado, I am going to pass this over to Dean DeRue to give us an update on the school and just welcome you all to the event.
Excellent. Thank you, Caitlin, and good evening, good morning, wherever you might be in the world. All the way from Ann Arbor and Canton and Ypsilanti, all the way to Sao Paulo and other parts of the world. It's amazing to see our community from across the globe come together. And so just really grateful that we have an opportunity to engage in this way. And really excited and honored to have two wonderful entrepreneurs and supporters of entrepreneurs with us to engage in a really fascinating discussion about entrepreneurship and also to celebrate really the launch or relaunch or next wave, if you will, of our Desai Accelerator that has been such a champion for entrepreneurs, both at the University of Michigan and globally, bringing entrepreneurs to campus and helping support them and build their businesses. And so really grateful, really excited about this conversation that we're going to have. Like Caitlin said, we're doing a number of events virtually, all different formats on all different topics. We've had literally tens of thousands of participants engage in these over the last couple of months, and there'll be more to come. So as part of this conversation, I'm just going to give a brief update on the school, the university, etc. But then I'm really going to quickly get to a conversation with Angela, who's the director of our Desai Accelerator and has a fascinating background in entrepreneurship, but also supporting entrepreneurs. And then Brenda Pak, who's a wonderful entrepreneur and 2018 graduate, working in a startup that she co-founded called BackPac, and a lot that we can learn from their experiences. But first and foremost, I want to begin with just sending our collective best wishes from my home and our University of Michigan community to all of you around the world. We are living in really unprecedented, challenging, trying times. And most importantly, I hope that you and your families and all of your loved ones are healthy, are safe and well during this moment in our history. And hopefully everybody stays that way and we all do our part so that COVID-19 is hopefully in the history books sooner rather than later. But most importantly, I just hope that all of you are doing well and staying safe. The University of Michigan community and the Ross School in particular has mobilized really quickly to address COVID. So much of my remarks about the school will be about COVID, because I know that's of interest to a lot of people. In the Q&A later, I'm happy to take questions about the school more generally if you're interested. Where we're at right now is as of March 12th, 13th, everything is remote. So all instruction, all courses are remote. We migrated about over 40,000 students, thousands of courses to online education in 2 days. And all employees, several thousand faculty and almost all of our staff working remotely. So at the university level, that's tens of thousands of people. And it hasn't been perfect, but it's gone quite well. And the feedback from our students, from our faculty, from our staff has been, we're learning a lot, but it's been generally positive and appreciative of just how effectively and quickly the university mobilized and really held up our standard in terms of the quality of education that we offer, et cetera. At the Ross School, we migrated over 400 courses, including, for example, all of our action-based learning experiences. And so we had all of our MBAs, for example, going through their MAP projects, and all 83 of those projects with organizations all around the world were completed virtually, and they went off wonderfully, including with organizations in Africa, throughout Asia, throughout the United States. So just really proud of our team, how everybody came together, supported each other, helped each other, but really stepped up and delivered for our students in this really challenging and time of change and uncertainty, certainly disruption. As Caitlin said, we graduated 1,584 new alumni from live from my living room last week. And we had Steve Ross and Tom Brady and Juwan Howard and Jim Harbaugh and Robin Washington and Mary Kay Haben and Damon John from Shark Tank, speaking of entrepreneurship, all join us for commencement. It was really a magical moment. It wasn't what any of us expected or hoped for. We love that moment where we can all come together and celebrate, but it was pretty special and memorable, and I'm really proud of our team. We face really significant challenges at the university, like all organizations do at this moment, whether it's budget challenges, whether it's the sense of community that makes the University of Michigan and the Ross School of Business so special. We're doing everything we can to, like this, engage our community, but it really challenging times. But there's also a lot of opportunity in this moment, and we're not backing away from any of our strategic initiatives, any of our strategic priorities. We're talking about entrepreneurship tonight and the Zell Lurie Institute. I know Stuart Thornhill, the faculty director of ZLI, is on the call. He and his team are doing an amazing job continuing to support our entrepreneurs who are students, entrepreneurs in our community. We're not backing away from any of our strategic initiatives. Digital education, we continue to invest. And I'm really proud of our digital education team that stepped up and is serving now all of our students and all of our faculty in new and really impactful ways. We are planning for the fall across a range of contingencies, a lot of unknowns, a lot of uncertainties in terms of what the fall is going to look like. We are planning at the moment for what we're referring to as a public health informed residential fall semester. So that means students, faculty, and staff back on campus, but likely with some social, I don't like to call it social distancing. I like it physical distancing, but I like to be socially connected. And we're planning to be residential in some way in the fall, but likely with some physical distancing protocols in place, testing in place for our students, faculty, and staff. And we've got a whole range of teams, from public health experts to community partnerships with the governor in the state of Michigan, all working on figuring out exactly how we'll return to some sense of normalcy as soon as we possibly can. Happy to take questions on that offline. You can send me emails, et cetera. But most importantly, I want you to know that the University of Michigan is operating from a place of strength. And despite the challenges that we face, and those challenges are significant, we will rebound from this and be stronger on the other side. And it's because our people have really come together and supporting each other, helping each other, thinking creatively about how we address the challenges of COVID and everything that is with that. So the University of Michigan is a resilient organization with a commitment to excellence that is second to none. And I think that all of you would be proud of what the university has done thus far and will do going forward. And your support in that means the world. Our budget challenges are significant. Our donations, I met with our alumni board last week, and they're all stepping up to help, and our community is stepping up to help, and we need that. But we're also going to be there for you when you need us too. So thank you for coming tonight. Again, happy to answer any questions later, but I really want to get to a conversation with Angela and Brenda, because that's where the magic happens, and they're the ones that are doing amazing work both at the school and in their own startups. So thank you all, and I'm going to now shift and introduce Angela, and Caitlin did a little bit of that earlier, but let me switch over to here, gallery view, there we go. And so now you can see Angela Kujava there, and you can see a sign behind her that Desai West, I think that says.
Yes.
So this is the satellite office of the Desai Accelerator, I take it, Angela.
Yeah, I'm in Chelsea, Michigan, and so this is our West location.
I love it. Who knew we had multiple locations of our Desai Accelerator? Now we do. Just a moment of quick introduction for Angela. She's the managing director of our Desai Accelerator, which, if you don't know, is the University of Michigan's professional business accelerator. The focus is on early stage tech startups. We provide funding, mentorship, programming, access to talent, business resources, connections to alumni. Angela manages a portfolio of 26 startups, all as part of our accelerator, and has done a remarkable job of building the accelerator and securing additional funding for the accelerator, attracting very successful entrepreneurs and startups, and she's done just a really fabulous job. She's got a history of working with entrepreneurs. Prior to Desai, she was the director of innovation for a global app development firm, where she worked to nurture developing startups and companies, and just a wide range of experience. She's also a certified financial planner. So in case any of you need financial advice in this moment where markets are volatile.
Not anymore.
Oh, no, okay, well, once a certified financial planner, always. She's amazing. She's amazing entrepreneur and amazing resource for our entrepreneurs. So Angela, thank you very much for taking time out of your life to spend with our community here as on this evening or in the morning for some of you. So Angela, I would love to just open up a conversation with you about the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Michigan. Let's start with Michigan. And you've got a bird's eye view of looking at the entrepreneurial ecosystem of Michigan. We've seen a lot of progress across the state, in particular Detroit, in recent years. And could you just talk a little bit about how you've seen the landscape of entrepreneurship in our region change over the past 5 to 10 years? And then from there, we'll broaden it out beyond Michigan and our region.
Sure. I mean, the first thing that we can take a look at is actually the data we have. So what we can measure. If we look at 10 years ago, we have over twice as much venture capital under management right now than we did in 2010. And by the way, it's kind of wild to say that 2010 was a decade ago, but you know, we have great data from then. The annual investment in companies, venture investment, is also more than twice as much. In 2010, it was $215 million. In 2019, it was $514 million. If you exclude an actual $1.5 billion raise by Plymouth's Rivian, it's automotive technology. So that kind of skews the numbers a little bit, but again, almost twice as much. And then not talking about just venture capital, but angel investment. In 2010, there was $5 million in angel investment in Michigan, and in 2019, $73.6 million. So, I mean, just grown remarkably over the last 10 years. There were in 2010, 27 companies that received venture capital. Last year, 71 companies, right?
Wow.
So, they're just the support from a capital perspective, from a financial perspective is huge. Looking at 5-year trend lines, Michigan is actually doing better nationally, better in some growth areas than the country overall. So when we take a look at the growth of venture capital investment, Michigan's growing faster. When we take a look at average capital per management firm, Michigan's growing faster, and even number of startups receiving capital, right? Our growth rate has been trending higher than the national growth rate. So it's all really positive. The types of companies that are getting capital, life sciences still really huge, a little bit smaller than it was 10 years ago, but that's remained pretty static. Same with IT, and those are really the two biggest categories. One thing that is statistically significant and different right now is that mobility was not really in the picture 10 years ago, and now it's taking almost 10% of the VC investment that's going on. So on the flip side, on something that doesn't look as great for some of our companies, is we've actually seen that while the seed and pre-seed sectors from or I should say stages, are getting a little bit more investment than they were 10 years ago, that pre-growth stage overall is actually getting less investment. And so that's something that we really, as an accelerator, take a look at, because we're looking at those early stage companies and trying to figure out, okay, how can we better support them in an environment that in some regards isn't improving right now. That's sort of the data that I can provide. Anecdotally, over the last 10 years, I mean, my job probably didn't exist 10 years ago, or didn't exist in very much across the country. And so we've seen accelerators and incubators, these spaces where companies can get resources, not just money, but access to office space, access to a cohort of people who are really invested in their companies in the same way they are. Those are now commonplace, not just Ann Arbor, not just Detroit, but all across the country, all across the world, to be matter of fact. Co-working spaces, right? So, accelerators, you have to apply to getting incubators. There is a hurdle, but co-working spaces, you don't have to be a member of the gig economy to go there. Entrepreneurs work in co-working spaces all the time. And so those types of resources just weren't really in existence 10 years ago, not like they are today. And I would also say that from a cultural standpoint, entrepreneurship is like sexy right now. Of course, the boom of Facebook and stories like that really have brought it into the zeitgeist, and that's both a positive and a negative. I think it paints a picture of entrepreneurship that isn't entirely true, or that is true for a very small number of individuals. But at the same time, it did, I think, demystify entrepreneurship for a lot of people, which has been very exciting for us.
Yeah, it certainly made it more accessible, but it certainly also gave the impression that I could create a social network app and become Zuckerberg. Right. And that's been I'm still waiting to become Zuckerberg in that case. But what you're speaking of in terms of resources, structural and cultural, when I look at Ann Arbor, it was the VentureBeat article, I think, that presented a study where for female founders, Ann Arbor became the #1 city in the country for access to your first round of venture capital. And to me, that was unspeakable or unheard of just a decade ago or 15 years ago when I came to the area, where there were no incubators, no accelerators, and just not the infrastructure. And whether that's money, whether that's talent, or just a cohort of entrepreneurs that creates the climate for innovation, it's really changed. And I think the work that you're doing in the accelerator is really a driving force to a lot of that. And obviously the Desai Accelerator is not the only one, but now it's part of this ecosystem. So how would you think about, why would an entrepreneur come to, say, the Desai Accelerator versus an accelerator on the East or the West Coast? You talk to entrepreneurs that are making these decisions all the time. What's your sales pitch to an entrepreneur on why they come to the Desai Accelerator versus, say, an East or a West Coast or somewhere else in the world?
I think there are a number of factors that play into that. So one is access to talent kind of combined with a reasonable cost of living and cost of doing business. So we, of course, have one of the, best universities, top 10 universities, and top 10 schools in our university in almost every subject matter. So you can get access to people who know how to do the work that you need done, to researchers, when at Desai, we are able to even use the Kresge Library at Ross to get research for our startups. All the while, you don't have to pay astronomical fees to be able to just live here. You don't have to bunk with 4 other people in a room for $1,000 a month. And you actually get to have a reasonable standard of living. And I think that's really meaningful. I think our sense of community here is very important. It's actually one of the values that we really hold dear at Desai, is our ability to create a community, not just of the cohort of people that are currently in the program, but our portfolio of 26 companies and how they fit into the ecosystem overall. We have access to the biggest alumni group on the planet, living alumni group on the planet. And that really plays out in our mentorship capacity. One thing that some accelerators struggle for, and we do not, is access to mentors. I have people writing me every single week. How can I get involved? How can I help these companies be successful? And that really plays out for these entrepreneurs. If they come to me and say, do you know anybody in X field? Or do you know anybody who knows something about sales or knows something about app development or whatever it might be? I don't have to go through too many levels of people to find an expert in that subject matter, right? And then one element of our program that is very uncommon, I hesitate to use the word unique, but very uncommon among accelerators, is our internship cohort. So we recruit, hire, manage, and pay a cohort of 10 student interns. They're all University of Michigan students. We recruit at every college and school at the university, and they are with us all summer, 40 hours or more a week, executing projects that the companies submit. So essentially, we give you paid staff in order to get things done. And if we think about the things that startups need: cash, mentors, customers, and people. And so we're giving them 10 extra hands to be able to do work, and not just 10 extra hands, but really smart, really talented people on cross-disciplinary teams. So if somebody comes to me and says, we need to build out 5-year financial pro forma, we need to have a social media strategy, we need somebody to look at the code in this app, we can put together teams of people to do that, which is really amazing.
Yeah, that access to talent across a world-class university in nearly every discipline. So no matter what talent need you have, to me, is a real strength of the Desai Accelerator's positioning within this amazing university. Angela, one last question, and if to the audience, again, just to reiterate what Caitlin said, if you have questions, the Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen, you can click on that and submit a question, and a couple have been submitted. One of them from Maura asked, does the Desai Accelerator do anything in particular to support female entrepreneurs? Can you, and to broaden the question a little bit, what have you seen, whether it's Desai or other accelerators, do to support first-time entrepreneurs or female entrepreneurs as they embark on this entrepreneurial journey that they're on? What's working there?
Yeah, it is similar and different, I think, for first-time entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs. So with first-time entrepreneurs, the learning curve is incredibly steep. And when you're in an accelerator program, not only are you trying to, I mean, it's in the name, accelerator, right? So there's a lot of pressure on you to complete the elements of the program, in addition to trying to run your own business and just even learning how to run a business simultaneously. And so one of the things that we've done in response is sort of taken the pressure off a little bit and changed our 16-week program to a 10-month program. Not necessarily increasing the workload over those 10 months, but being able to just have longer term support for our founders in that way. To answer the question about women entrepreneurs, you know, there's no, I don't have a set standard of rules saying we do this for women, right? But I will tell you, Desai is run by women and has always been, whether that, I don't think anybody set out to do that, but it's always been run by women. And so we feel really strongly about being able to support women in a way that they may not be in other areas. So whether that is helping them understand how to have access, how to get more access to capital, and you know, opening doors and giving opportunities, whether that's if we have an event in the evening and we have them bring their kids, you know, a lot of our founders have children, or you know, now that we're doing everything remotely, allowing them to, you know, making space for them to also have their family needs met. We do that. And we have really worked hard over the last several years to make sure that the balance of men to women mentors is righted. And so it's not just men that we're bringing in to talk to. I will never forget, there was a workshop we were in, and one of the founders slacked me. That cohort was 5 companies, and 3 of them were founded by women of color. And one of them slacked me and said, "Hey, where are all the lady bosses at?" And it was a big wake-up call, right? So they were noticing, and they were obviously not complaining, but mentioning it to me. And so we've worked really hard to change that and to bring in strong female founders who reflected their experience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one observation that I've had through the years of watching the Accelerator is building a community of female entrepreneurs that can provide mentorship and coaching and counsel to each other. And because a lot of this is about building that climate and that community of support, and certainly having, you know, men who are advocates and champions for female entrepreneurs, but also having really that community of female entrepreneurs that can support each other and sort of be role models for each other along the journey has been key. And so in that spirit, what I'd love to do is bring in one of those female entrepreneurs to the conversation. And Caitlin, if you can have Brenda join us, see if this works in our Zoom world that we're living in here. Brenda, I see your name. I don't see you yet. There you are. Sure. Hey, Brenda, welcome.
Hi. Hi.
So for those that don't know, Brenda is joining us from the Bay Area out in California. I mentioned earlier, 2018 MBA graduate. So I had the privilege of shaking her hand as she walked across the stage just a couple of years ago. And prior to school, she worked at Deloitte, doing a lot of work in global e-commerce, in particular around fashion, working with some of the large fashion brands. And then immediately following school, her MBA, she worked at William Blair, doing work in investment banking for high growth tech companies, working mostly on the sell side, working on IPOs related to Peloton, which now everyone knows because that's the way, I guess, fitness happens these days. Worked on Medallia. And if you don't know this company, if you've ever filled out a survey in the hospitality world, you probably know Medallia. But what you may not know is it was founded by a Michigan graduate. So Berga is a Michigan grad. So that's great. That's exciting. And then she also worked on the IPO of Zoom. So Brenda knows a lot about the platform that we're working on now. And she left the investment banking world recently to work full-time on a startup called BackPac. And Brenda, in your tweet-sized version, your elevator pitch, what is BackPac?
Yeah, so BackPac is basically a platform where people are easily able to sign up to volunteer and to connect with local nonprofits. Just with one click, sign up, and then it's on their Google Calendar and they're ready to go.
Excellent. So connecting volunteers with organizations that need volunteers.
Exactly.
Exactly. So it's match.com for volunteering. Is that
for social impact?
Okay. Fair enough. For social impact. Outstanding. So what I would love, Brenda, to have you talk a little bit about is just your experiences. So you founded BackPac with 2 other Ross alumni, if I understand correctly, right?
Yep, that's correct. They were 1 year below me.
Yeah, and so could you talk a little bit about how you found the University of Michigan, the Ross School of Business, as an ecosystem to support entrepreneurs like yourself, and what your journey was like in terms of founding BackPac, getting it off the ground within the University of Michigan?
Yeah, I have to say, I'm really happy I went to the Ross School of Business. I know this sounds like a plug, but I'm extremely grateful for the Michigan family. And I think after I graduated, I've realized the resources that we had on hand that we didn't even, we weren't even beginning to tap into. And it was really after I graduated that I really got involved with, ZLI and getting their mentorship. We're also part of LBLE, which is a group of students that work with live businesses, and they've been really impactful in kind of filling in the gaps in terms of like manpower and resources. Also getting connected with Caitlin in alumni relations. She's the one that invited me to this and, gave me this opportunity to talk about BackPac. So I would say that the Michigan community has been instrumental in just making sure that BackPac is thriving and it's moving forward.
Yeah, well, it is so deeply connected to the mission of the school and the DNA of the school of, really thinking through how do we use business and business principles to make a positive impact in the world. And I've been just really proud as you and your co-founders have followed this pursuit of building BackPac to connect opportunities for impact with people that aspire to have an impact. It really is remarkable, and I'm really glad that you're taking this on full time. Now, you worked in another accelerator that we have on campus called the TechArb as well, right?
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about your experience with TechArb?
Yeah, I would say it's a lot what Angela's mentioned about really the benefits of joining an accelerator. For a couple of our co-founders, this is the first time they're entering into entrepreneurship. And so a lot of these things were new. And so what the accelerator was able to do was, one, it was able to really help us connect with the community of mentors and other entrepreneurs and resources that we needed to, do app development, to get a sales team, to figure out what our business model really is going to be. And in addition, it gave us, co-working space that we could access 24 hours a day. So if we needed to go in there and hustle on the weekends, or if we needed to go late at night to whiteboard and to strategize, we had that opportunity. And so that was really pivotal because it helped us understand how we want to organize as a team and how we wanted to kind of push the product forward. It also plugged us into the ecosystem of Ann Arbor. And so a lot of what our platform it's working with nonprofits in the community. And a lot of those connections came through alumni, through ZLI, through the Center for Entrepreneurship. And so I would say it was really a launching pad for how the business kind of moved forward.
Yeah, I mean, this ecosystem of being able to access resources, talent, financial support. I mean, it's about building this ecosystem that gives people like you the opportunity to take ideas, bring them to life. It's such a fundamental part of what we're now doing at the business school and the university. What have you learned about yourself, Brenda? I mean, you came from a professional services background. You came to Ross. You went into investment banking. There aren't many people that go from working in investment banking in the high-tech space to now developing an app to having a social impact in the world. What have you learned about yourself on this journey that led you to today? And what have you learned about yourself as an entrepreneur?
Wow. I've actually reflected a lot about this since I left investment banking not too long ago. So I'd been working on BackPac kind of on the side while I was in banking. The hours were intense when I was doing both things at once. But I learned that as much as I loved professional services and all that I've learned with the high growth tech companies I worked with and the exposure I had to companies like Zoom, I would have never felt fulfilled until I did something of my own. And I found myself when I talked to a lot of these founders on the services side that I felt like their story was interesting. The lives they were living were compelling, and maybe there was huge risk involved. And I was, but it would have never been as fulfilling if I had never taken that jump. And I thought I could have been an investment banker for 10 years and, really get a yacht and kind of live that life that I was envisioning when I first started. I would see my managing directors and they had a great life. They still do. But, I'm on the other side of it, and I have to say the hustle is real. The grind is real, being an entrepreneur. And some days I think I'll never make any profit off of this company, but I am the most fulfilled I've been in a very long time. And I can't imagine doing anything else.
Good for you. Good for you. That's what a story. And using what you've learned through your experiences in business school to now bring that to life in a startup BackPac to have a positive impact in the world. I have no doubt that you're going to excel, and whether it's through BackPac or another venture, you will have your yacht. I fully expect.
Everybody is invited. If I get that.
We'll take all 80 or so people on the call tonight and just bring them on Brenda's yacht for sure. How, Brenda, with COVID going on and the fact that you are really connecting volunteers and organizations that are in need and an opportunity for impact, there's such a need in the world right now with regards to COVID. How have you transitioned BackPac in this current moment that we're all living through?
Yeah, so I think I really agree with you. In light of COVID, I think there was more of an urgency in our mission and kind of our vision to really have this avenue, this vehicle where people can easily volunteer. And, when there is a disaster, when there is, a crisis, people are able to kind of hop in there and help their community and their city. And I think with COVID, we've slightly refocused on contactless volunteering efforts. We're going to have a new nonprofit highlight with Habitat for Humanity, where we're going to help get the masks that people are making in their home. So that's going to be another initiative. And then we've been focusing on nonprofits that are particularly at risk, like elderly communities, immunocompromised communities, and trying to get them the resources that they need. So we have a donation feature in which we are trying to funnel funds to most at-risk nonprofits. So that's how we're kind of thinking about our COVID efforts. And then the flip side of that is kind of thinking through and prioritizing the features we need when we get to, the quote unquote new normal that we'll enter into in a few months, and what that means for our cities, because nothing will be the same. And a lot of these nonprofits we've been talking to, they've had to really shift how they do their work. They weren't the most technology savvy, for instance, and now they're figuring out how to do websites and how to figure out, the BackPac mobile app. And it's been, a lot of a teaching experience, a lot of relationship forming. But it's been really good in terms of just figuring out how we can help the community.
Yeah, and it's a tremendous service to the community and the organizations that are in need, and the people that want to give back. But in this world where we're all living virtual and many of us are stay at home by order, how do you do that? And so I really admire what you're doing and stepping up to do. Angela, I'd love to bring you back into the conversation. And there is a question on the Q&A that I don't know if you saw it. Basically the question is, of the 26 portfolio companies in Desai, how many of those are still alive and still marching along? What's the typical success rate? And even what is the definition of success for an accelerator? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was actually pulling open my portfolio management spreadsheet to take a look at what the exact numbers were. So we have written off 11 companies total. We have 2 exits, and then 13 of them are still active in some form. And we actually consider that very good results. So if you look at over the course of 3 to 5 years for any startup, the success rate is pretty low. It's really hard to start a business and keep it successful and keep it running. And yes, accelerators help accelerate companies, but we don't bend the failure curve completely. So yes, we're very proud of those numbers and those results.
Yeah, and Brenda, I'm sure you know other entrepreneurs that have been through accelerators and things of that sort, but that rate of business survival in some basic sense for an accelerator is actually quite impressive. So kudos to you all. So there are a couple of questions that folks submitted outside of the Q&A. Angela, one of them is for you, so let me go here again. When a company comes into the Desai Accelerator, I will use what the person who submitted the question, I'll use their language. What is the package of goodies that they receive when coming into the accelerator?
Yeah, so the first goodie is a $25,000 investment in their company. So we commit to all of our companies that we will put $25,000 in, and that's an investment between the company and the University of Michigan Board of Regents. And we do that in the form of a convertible note. We have used a SAFE agreement in the past, but we're using a convertible note right now. We don't take a set amount of equity in the company, and there's no cap on that. So it's a really founder-friendly investment. They get over $500,000 in perks that are available to them. So this might mean access to software such as Amazon Web Services, Google's an analogous service to that. It might be, Airtable gives us credits that they can use. A lot of really common packages from the business, HR packages, things like that. Legal advising. We do have a local headhunter who helps people find talent, and so that can be a fantastic resource for them. We, of course, provide office space. Not right now. We are starting our program remotely this year, but in normal times, we provide you office space in the tech corridor in downtown Ann Arbor. So not only are you with these really vibrant companies, but you are among a group of organizations and individuals who are really excited about supporting what you're doing. And then the interns, as I spoke of before, and the mentors that are part of the program.
Excellent. Thank you, Angela.
Mm-hmm.
Brenda, there's a question on here for you. And Angela, I should say, is that a pretty standard suite of quote unquote goodies that an accelerator would provide? I
would say the things that we provide, with the exception of the interns, are standard, and they're just various levels depending on where you are across the country. I would say our accelerator is probably on the more generous side of accelerators in the United States.
Yeah, certainly in terms of terms, access to talent, the internships is huge.
The internships is like I said, almost unique among accelerators, and that's, like you said, huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Brenda, there's a question on here for you. People want to help BackPac. And so the question is there a way that they can refer organizations to BackPac? How do they get involved?
Yes, please. We are always looking for new partnerships with nonprofits. So if you have a cause or a passion or a nonprofit that you know of that you want to recommend, please contact me, email me, call me, text me, at all hours of the day or night. We are ready, stand by. So that would be, I think, the main thing we really want to do. We want to focus on getting the nonprofits the help they need.
Excellent.
You can also download the app on the App Store if you would like to be a user.
Yeah, download the app, and then they can probably get in touch with you through the app, I would imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. In the chat, not the Q&A, Angela, you'll like this. One person said, Desai also gives out stickers as part of its goodies. So
True. We give out stickers.
Stickers. And also the mugs. I have a mug, a Desai mug. So there's those.
Jacket.
Yeah. One question was, do the interns get paid and/or academic credit?
Not academic credit. Yes, they get paid.
Yeah, which is pretty standard for the internships. Another question that came in through the Q&A, Jamie Burr asked about the exits. Angela, can you pick one of the exits and talk about that exit?
Yes, so a company called Food Stand is a behavior change app for consumers and for businesses that an individual can go on, can pick through a list of healthy behavior modifications that they want to achieve. And Food Stand's app runs you through a program that is based on behavior change science and not, diet culture. And so they were acquired by a company called Diet ID, who is providing some complementary services to what Food Stand did. And we are still a part of that new organization in certain ways, but the founder of Food Stand, or both founders of Food Stand, also became executives at Diet ID and are continuing their mission and building out their product within that larger organization.
That's great. And what was the other exit? What was the company?
Scout Day.
Okay. And can you tell the folks on the call what's that company do?
So Scout Day was an application founded by a former collegiate baseball player who knew just how difficult it was to go from being a middle school and high school player with talent, but no connections, to being able to play NCAA ball in college. And so he built an app that allowed players to connect directly with college coaches, all NCAA compliant. But the real sort of secret sauce in that was the profiles that the student players created were evaluated by MLB scouts. And so when the coaches saw the players' profiles and saw the evaluation, they could trust that data because it was, from an MLB scout.
Oh, outstanding. And what was the exit there? What happened to it?
They sold to Better Media.
Okay, outstanding.
Yeah.
Brenda, I'll ask you this question, but Angela, feel free to chime in. One of the questions that came through the Q&A, are you seeing an increase in the use of public benefit corporations as a form of entity for social ventures? I mean, social ventures can take on all different legal structures and forms, B Corp, et cetera. So how have you set up BackPac, and what are you seeing in sort of the social impact space in terms of how organizations are being formed?
So currently BackPac is an LLC, S Corp, but we are in the process of transitioning over to a B Corp. We found that it helps establish legitimacy, especially with social impact companies. I mean, you'll recognize names like Allbird, Benevity, another one of our competitors, Catch a Fire, they're all B Corps. And it does open, I think, a lot more doors in terms of other companies, investors only wanting to work with B Corps. So we are actually in the process of kind of maneuvering that way.
Excellent. And Angela, have you seen a shift or a trend similarly in the use of B Corp structures? What are you seeing?
We have not. It may have something to do with the types of companies that we accept and the way that they're typically seeking funding. I hesitate to give this answer considering Brenda's answer just now, but I will say that a lot of the attorneys that we work with in our program shudder when companies say that they want to become B Corps. What?
I'll wait.
So I'm not a lawyer. Don't take my advice.
Brenda, we can connect you to our attorneys.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But I have to say we are not seeing a lot of that right now.
Okay, no, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So I know we're short on time, and Angela, we've got a number of people on the call that either maybe themselves or through their connections may have people who want either as entrepreneurs or mentors to get involved with the Desai Accelerator. If somebody wants to get involved as an entrepreneur, if somebody wants to get involved as a mentor, how do they do that? What's the next step?
We are always looking for people who can mentor companies, especially with specifics, right? So not just basic business advice, but with connections, with really relevant assistance and ideas that are close to what they're doing. And so you can always reach out to me. You can reach out to our general email, and we can provide you with a list of opportunities that commitment levels from a 1 hour workshop to 1 hour meeting to weekly meetings with our companies and being a lead mentor with our program. There's a little bit of room for everybody to get involved. And then of course, sign up for our newsletter. That's where you get the most frequent information coming out. If you are really, really serious about a certain company, you can sit on their advisory board. That is such a helpful tool for these organizations as they are getting off the ground and spinning up. Brenda, I'm sure that you have an advisory board that is just invaluable to BackPac. as you learn about Accelerator, about Desai companies, share them with the people you know, right? Finding customers is huge, and particularly in some industries, they take a long time to sign those deals. And so the quicker that, we can get people in front of potential customers, the better off they will be. And then this should be not considered a general solicitation, but if you are an angel investor and you're looking for companies to take a risk on, please consider ours and reach out to me about some really great opportunities that fit your investment criteria and your profile. You can also invest in the Desai Accelerator if you'd like to. But yeah, I think, just reach out to me, tell me what type of commitment you're looking to make, and we will be able to find a place that, works with you.
Excellent. And if for some reason you can't find Angela, you can always find me, and I'm happy to connect you. Angela, thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Brenda, you're amazing. And the work you're doing with BackPac, I just really admire. And so thank you very, very much for joining us for this call, but also just everything you're doing. Really appreciate it. And just a couple of shout outs. I saw a couple of people in the attendees and participants. I don't know if Sarika is still out there. Sarika Gupta, who's our managing director for the Zell Lurie Institute, just had a baby. And so I want to give her a big shout out and congratulations as well. I saw my good friend and Desai mentor, Rishi Narayan, on the call. So I want to give him a shout out, an entrepreneur who built an amazing company, Underground Printing, that some of you may have bought custom apparel from in Ann Arbor before. I saw Ed Hightower, who's one of our Ross School Advisory Board members, on the call. So Ed, great to see you there. I even saw, I don't see him anymore, but Mike Pinkert, who's one of our alumni that has been a huge supporter of our Pinkert Scholars Program, which is a scholarship and student support program for students interested at the intersection of business and healthcare, and has been a remarkable program that he and his wife helped us stand up and build. So wonderful to see everybody joining tonight from all around the world, and thank you so much. Forever, go blue, and I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin. But stay well, be healthy, everyone, and look forward to doing this again and hopefully seeing you all in person very, very soon.